Okay, I want to show you how to disassemble a Logix 520 MD positioner. First, I'm just going to take my power off here. So now the lights aren't blinking, I don't have air pressure on it. So first I'm going to take out these three cover screws. Let's take those out. Okay. You can see that they're connected here. This is your power. This is your analog output. Normally an analog output board, if it exists, would be right here. And then just have a little wire connection that connects from here to there. And that's where it would go out. So I'm just going to disconnect the daughter board here. This has your LEDs, your configuration buttons, and your switches. So I'm disconnecting the pressure sensor board there. Just wiggle off that ribbon cable. Disconnect the potentiometer. Disconnect the Hall sensor. And disconnect the piezo. They don't have to be disconnected in any specific order. I just unplugged them that way. So I'm going to disconnect your power and your analog output board. This piece comes off. There's only one screw in this board right here. Take that out. Then this board just comes completely off. So underneath here, you've got your relay module. This is your pressure sensor board. I'm also going to take off this brass colored cover. So you can see underneath here. This is the potentiometer. So maybe in a different procedure I'll show you how to set this using an ohm meter. Just for a quick reference, when measuring across the yellow and the red, at its starting position here with these two gears meshed up, it should be between 900 ohms and 3 kilo ohms. If it's not, then you need to move this clip around so you can rotate that, or push that potentiometer gear away and rotate it around so you can set it to a different range. But anyway, so that's the potentiometer. I might take that out in a sec. But this is how you take out a relay. So you just take out these two screws. And the relay just comes straight out. You can see that there's two O-rings down here in the bottom, right there and right there. Those need to be present, otherwise you're going to be leaking when you reinstall your relay. But to reinstall the relay, it's obviously just you put these screws back in, tighten those back down, making sure that you don't get your screw inside these holes. You can damage your O-rings that way. So make sure your screws are set on there, tightened down, and then just reinstall the opposite direction, reinstalling everything else on the top. So pressure sensor board, I'll just take that out real quick. Really not much to it, just these 4 screws. Okay, that just comes straight off. Sorry, I was just collecting the screws. There's 2 O-rings on here as well. Normally they stay inside their little bosses, their little recesses, but the O-rings came with it in this sense. Just 2 sensors, one for supply and one for the actuation port, just for diagnostic purposes. So as far as removing this potentiometer, so you rotate this clip, this little clip that wraps around the outside of the potentiometer. You rotate that around so you can push this potentiometer gear, separate the 2 gears of the potentiometer. Then you would remove this little E-clip. I don't have the right tool, but it probably should have used a flathead screwdriver to remove this little E-clip. Now I can push this off to the side and just pull the whole assembly up. Actually, looks like my clip is still in the way. So I'm going to rotate it the other direction. That'll give me a little bit more latitude. There, I can push that a little bit further now. That whole assembly just comes straight off. This is this spring right here is the thing that gives the potentiometer its flex into the other gear. to keep that spring loaded. If you're pushing this back in, make sure that you spring load this spring against this screw boss right there before you push the whole thing back down in down on that post right there, this post. So as far as the shaft is concerned, generally we don't really recommend that you remove the shafts. There's a lot of damage that can be caused, but if you do get in a situation where you need to remove the shaft, let me remove this first. This is our linkage connection to our test fixture. I'll just take that off real quick. Normally what you would do to take this off is there's a little snap ring right there, and I've got my little snap ring spreaders here. So I'm just going to put my little snap ring spreader in there, if I can get a good grip on it. Sorry, my snap ring spreaders are a little bit worn. But basically, it's a pretty simple endeavor. Once you get your snap ring spread, you need to make sure that you don't stretch this snap ring too far, because if you plastically deform it, you won't be able to use it again. You need a new snap ring. But that's something you can find at any hardware store probably. There's a washer underneath it as well. So you pull that snap ring and the washer off, and then this shaft would pull straight out. You can see right down here, there's a little boss where there's a spring that's wound around this shaft. If you're if you're putting your shaft in, you have to make sure that you hook that spring on the boss down there, and then rotate it into position where it hits on these two hard stops right there. You rotate it into this position and push it down in before you put your snap ring back on the back. Hopefully that makes sense without me having to remove the snap ring, because unfortunately my tools aren't allowing me to do that right now. But that's how you basically gut a 520MD positioner, regular positioner, not a plus. So if you have any other questions, feel free to give me a call.